Good morning and welcome to Tuesday. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, of course, the physical delivery of what we like to call wealth insurance, gold and silver. Get it? Well, you still can. It is, I guess we'll call it relief day, at least for one day. The markets, after obviously a very volatile Thursday, Friday, Monday, we got calm in the, Asia. The worst day all the way back to 1987. Had a little bit of a relief rally there. Follow through here. We'll give you the latest because it's all right. Tariff news driven. Yesterday, Donald Trump saying that he's going to hit China with a 50% increase. They're already at 54. If they go through with their retaliatory tariffs, China responded by saying, "I dare you." Matter of fact, I double dog dare you. Yes, they said they're not going to be blackmailed, but at least for today, the markets are hoping. We got the hopium back on. That's kind of like the new drug for Wall Street right now. The hopium that maybe some of these tariffs, let's face it, most of these tariffs may be dealt with. The president did say he had a good talk with South Korea. So I guess that's good. China wants to talk. Listen, China always wants to talk. They're down for talking anytime. The president yesterday said, "Jason, we're not talking to them." Right? That's what he said. So I don't know, maybe a little turnaround there. But here's the thing that bothers me. And I really like when Donald Trump is very honest, and says what he means. Right? And I think that's what a lot of us like about Trump. I didn't like this. I feel like we've been lied to. Canada and Mexico, they said the tariffs was about fentanyl. Nah. Wasn't about fentanyl. Then he said the tariffs were about reciprocal tariffs because you know what? They're taking advantage of us, right? And I think everyone here in the U.S. probably agrees that, and listen, maybe not as much as we want to believe, but countries are taking advantage of us, and mostly because we let them. Let's not kid ourselves, right? We've done it. And who's we? Not us. Yes, the people that we vote for, and let's face it, probably most of the people that did it to us, we never even voted for. But in this regard, why didn't the president and his administration just come out and say it? Hey, we've got a trade deficit that's $1 trillion a year of wealth leaving, because that's what it is. That's wealth leaving America. It's $1 trillion every year. And that's what this is all about. I think I could have dug it, Jason. I could have been in on it and said, okay, because what they ended up doing really was, it was nothing about reciprocal tariffs. Anyone that had trade surpluses, let's whack them, and then let's talk about how somehow we can get them to maybe buy more stuff or what have you. So I just wish they would have said that from the get-go. I think this probably explains, I've been very critical because I felt like the whole tariff thing had been handled poorly. And you know what? I think I know why it was handled poorly, because they knew they weren't telling us the truth to begin with.
I did watch some of the commercials from the media. He was sitting there with Benjamin Netanyahu, and they were talking a little bit about Israel. But then it was all about tariffs. And Benjamin Netanyahu brought the tariffs up. And said, we're not going to tariff the United States. And during the course of that thing, all the stuff you were saying was talked about. But there was this one part, Joe, that you had mentioned this, that this is the hard part for the economy. Let's just take America. He said it because one of the questions came in is like, "Oh, are you gonna? Is this I've been hearing that this is permanent. Are these permanent?" He's like, "Yes, they'll be permanent, but if they need to not be permanent, they won't be permanent. I guess we'll just have to see what happens." And it's like that's exactly what you said. That shouldn't be the case. It should be a tariff, or it should be in place tariff, so that businesses can decide what to do. And he answered that question very purposefully. Hey, I don't know what's going to happen. It could be permanent. It might not be. And as you said, I think last week, it's like this makes businesses, big, large companies, they don't know what to do, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. How soon to clarity? So I did hear something interesting potentially in regards to Japan and South Korea about a natural gas pipeline from Alaska over to the Asian markets, and I guess that could be a way, right? Well, if we could sell them natural gas, right, we could lower the deficit. I mean, I know Japan would love to buy cheap oil, so would South Korea, but that takes years, right? That would take years for it. I mean, I wouldn't even know how long would it take to build a natural gas pipeline. You got to think about everything you need to do, right? From the permitting process to building the facility. Then I'm assuming we're going to build it that goes through the ocean, right? I mean, yeah. I don't know. A lot of hopium today. A lot of hopium. You know what? We'll stay with the hopium. You know why? Because, let's face it, gold and silver are rallying as well. So hopium all around. 800-951-0592. A quick look in here at the markets. Maybe it's early, but maybe some of the hopium is waning. The Dow at one point was up 1,400 points. It's now up 800. We'll see. The S&P's up 100. The Nasdaq's up 400. I mean, obviously not anywhere close to where we were, but we'll take it. Be careful. This is not a buying opportunity yet. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think stocks are expensive still. And I know it's hard to say that, but it's what it is. The 10-year note, very interesting. So it got down to like 3.8 and change Friday. Now it's at 4.20. So roaring back here as I don't know. Is it tariffs? Is it the debt? Is it the fear that China will dump the remaining U.S. treasuries? I mean, there's a lot there. It could be any number of like 50 different things, but either way, it doesn't look like the 10-year note is going to really go down. I guess unless the Fed just relents and says, we're going to cut the rates here. Gold, depending where you look. Kiwi gold's up like $50. But I'll just tell you right now, spot gold's up $23, 3,007. Silver back above $30 to the ounce. So silver at one point was, about $28. So a nice turnaround there. Well, it's quick. So now went from 800 to 700 in one click of the page here. So we'll keep watching. I'm not hearing anything new yet. If something does come up, we will go to it. But it does appear that the biggest move I'm seeing right now is China is taking down the renminbi right now. The offshore, onshore renminbis hitting the lows. Matter of fact, it's down the limit. And it looks like one of the things China's going to do, we know this is one of the things that they have in their toolkit, devaluation of the renminbi. Obviously, number one, they could just concede to Trump's terms. I don't know what Trump's terms are. I guess Trump's terms are take a 54% tariff. I mean, That seems like what the term is. Obviously, they've already said no to that. Jason, then they can devalue. They can sell U.S. treasuries, which I'll say this. I know people are talking about it. I think that is the least likely scenario. China's already doing that, right? They're already selling U.S. treasuries. I think they're below 800 billion. At one point, at the highs, they were at 1.3 trillion. So whatever they have in place, I don't know. I guess they could, but that's big losses, right? That's big losses. The other thing that China can do, which is something I think Donald Trump wants to do here, unleash big fiscal stimulus, right, Jason? I mean, China can do the same thing that we can do right now, at least for today. At least for today, China is using the currency manipulation card as the renminbi has gone parabolic to the downside. Donald Trump was out saying on Truth Social, China wants to make a deal. He says they want to make one badly. They just don't know how to get it started. That's what he said. Well, I got an idea, if that's true. Hey, why don't you just tell them how to get it started? We are waiting for their call. So, Jason, I think this is what the markets took positively today. Remember yesterday, he's like, we're not even going to take their call. Today, the president said they're going to wait for the Chinese to reach out. And I guess we'll see what happens. So, remember, Trump's on record as saying, hey, he's going to hit him with another 50%, which I think is Thursday. China's already said, we're not going to be blackmailed. We're not doing it. I double dog dare you to do it. So I guess anything that is perceived as positive, we'll take it at least for the next, 5 minutes. Because let's face it, we're one tweet away or one Truth Social thing away from everything reversing.
Well, as always, it's a wait-and-see situation, Joe. We'll see where this is headed. It sure has a lot of attention on tariffs, and the markets we're already in a bad spot. The inflation was already in a bad spot. But it's got the news headlines, right, Joe? It's got everyone captured. Everyone's watching this, and it's all tariffs.
About, right?
And then this thing doesn't look good. It was going to go bad at some point, but I think everyone's going to be losing focus. I mean, there is a very specific system that we're in. It's a central bank system. It's worldwide, and if tariffs come from China and then tariffs come from America, well, who's in charge of all that? The central banks are in charge of all that. The Bank of China is going to make the decisions on tariffs in China. These central banks don't care about tariffs. They don't. Jerome Powell, he'll use tariffs for his, he's the face of the Fed, so he has to use whatever he can to make the Fed look better. So he'll use the word tariff in his speeches, but he doesn't care. They don't care about tariffs. They're the tax man. They get a chunk out of everybody. They get a bite out of everybody. And if we can all blame Donald Trump and tariffs and economic warfare from other countries, then great. Then the real thieves and fraudsters of the world are going to get away with it again, Joe.
Yeah, and you know what? Time is not the friend here. I think that's the problem. Time is not the friend, right? Because this has been going on really essentially since March. Right, because really it's supposed to start February. Remember, I'll give it 30 days for Mexico, Canada. So Mexico and Canada have been going the longest. There's no movement.
Nope. It's there.
None. Right? I mean, now today he talked about, I talked to South Korea. I talked to Israel. Okay, is there a deal? No. And today, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, was out. Here's what he said. There's a massive amount of inbound calls. Well, yeah, I mean, is anyone surprised? What, these countries, hey, we just whacked you with a tariff. They're not going to call? I mean, I would hope there was. When asked about tax with Europe, the Treasury Secretary said everything is on the table. So one of the issues, apparently, that they have with Europe, besides tariffs, is they have a VAT tax, a value-added tax, which I know they keep talking about tax cuts here, and I guess we're going to live in that fantasy, right? I have no doubt in my mind Donald Trump is going to give some sort of a tax cut, which, I'll be honest, I think is a horrible idea. I mean, it makes everyone feel better, but we need the revenue. But a value-added tax, simply put, is a way for countries to create revenue, right? Hey, everything you buy. Like, we could, in theory, not even in theory, we could tomorrow get rid of the income tax. Tomorrow. We don't need any tariffs to do it. We don't need anything other than a value-added tax. That's all we need. It's a consumption tax. That's what it is. So I don't know how that is. I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. Hey, we charge our own companies the same as we charge your company when it comes to at least the value. Now, maybe on tariffs it's different, but it was interesting. Everything on the table, I don't know if that really means anything, but, Wall Street took it. Donald Trump is going to be personally involved in all the negotiations. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? I don't know that that's news. Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan may engage in a Alaskan deal. Okay, this is what I was talking about, this pipeline. Okay. My guess is, this is just me, wouldn't they have been in favor of doing that without the tariffs? I mean, I would think they would, but I don't know, maybe not. If they are successful, tariffs will be a melting ice cube. This is the Treasury Secretary. I have no idea. What does that mean? A melting ice cube. A melting ice cube of what? We have discussed which countries to prioritize. Okay, so now we're okay. Which country are we? I'm going to go first. That words out of my mouth would be Mexico, Canada, right? That would be. That's just me. That is not the priority. Apparently, Japan will get priority because they quickly reached out to the U.S. So I guess whoever called first, squeaky wheel gets the grease, Jason. That's what we're. You know what? We do that here. We run specials here, and we go, hey, listen, we're going to get to you in the order that you called. So maybe I guess that makes sense. Apparently, Japan's going to be the priority because they called first.
Well, I mean, if Donald Trump's involved in every discussion or every negotiation, then there's only one of him to go around, if that's actually true. So I know how that is. You can only do so many phone calls at a time, right, Joe? So, yeah. I mean, there's not that many countries. He'll get around to it. So it's
not that many. You're right.
Is it really that important? Is it really that important? I mean, what we're seeing, Joe, is the squeeze of the worldwide population. When I see these tariffs in these countries and these corporations, these banks, they're all trying to, everything that's sold has a little tax or a little fee or a little tariff on it. And when the population is failing to have the ability to buy things, and even the wealthy are probably starting to buy less, worrying about what's going to happen, well, then there's less of those fees to collect. So what you're seeing, I think, is Donald Trump wants a bigger percentage of those little fees. He wants more of those taxes. I need more in my coffers, less in your coffers. So that's all this really is. I think the worldwide population is exhausted in consumerism. I don't think they can buy much. I think everything has just been sucked out of the pockets of the low end of society. And what you have is you have these countries and banks, and they're fighting for the taxes, the fees that are coming off every purchase that's possibly out there, Joe.
Well, again, now these are all comments. This is what Scott sent early this morning. He said, here's the part that I focused in on, because this was probably what I deemed to be the most truthful and probably the only way. If, this was the words he used the word if, there are solid proposals, we could end up with some good deals. As part of calculus with deals, some part of the tariffs are going to stay on. So Scott Bassett saying, hey, listen, these countries that are calling us, if we get a really good deal, we're going to knock down some of the tariff. But tariffs are here to stay. But, and I think, again, I think that's really the truth here, right? 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Tuesday. Like I said, a little bit of a relief rally. It's not as big. It started off real big. It's come back down, but we'll see. We'll see. I think we're at this point now where one tweet, right, one phone call, and things can go either way, right? Either way. We just don't know. But in listening to the Treasury Secretary today, hey, if we get some deals, we'll take part of the tariff off. So far, there are no deals. Matter of fact, we're hearing about, I had a good talk. We had good talks, but no, I don't think they're in a hurry. In time, this is the problem. This is what I'll go back to. Time isn't on the side here. The longer the tariffs stay in place, the worse things are going to get, period. And not just for everybody. Listen, we have, I don't even know, what is it? 10 different car manufacturers saying they've stopped shipping cars. They're not shipping them. Stop, right? Well, that can't last forever. I think part of this, too, that a lot of people don't get is whatever the tariff is, these countries, we talk about the countries, right? What's China going to do? What's Japan going to do? Taiwan, what are all these countries going to do? We know that the central banks, they have some stuff they can do, right? Currency manipulation, probably being the biggest one. But just think about it if you're a company. Like, well, gosh, I got to have product in the United States. We're the largest consumer in the world, right? Let's face it. When we look at the stock market, right, 56% of all the earnings in the U.S. stock market come from the United States. So you got to have stuff. They're going to have to make decisions. And I think the decisions that most of them will make is, I think I can cut a little bit of margin. Listen, most companies are not NVIDIA and Apple that make 70%. Matter of fact, very few do. Most companies are making single digits. It's not like they've got a lot of room to cut. But they'll probably try to cut a little margin. And that can be done either by just, hey, we're just going to we're going to fire people, whatever it may be, right? They're going to pass some of that on to the people in America, right? Which we know, we talk about the inflation. But, Jason, they're probably going to pass some of that on to the consumers in their own country, right? Because, I mean, we're not talking about just the 10% tariff. Because very few countries got that. Everybody else is dealing with 20, 30, 40, 50% tariffs. I think this is something that's going to be, everybody's going to feel the pain of it.
Yeah, it does have the feel when you listen to Trump talk more, long form about what he wants to do. He just wants to collect what he thinks is what America has been lacking in decades past, which is, hey, you've been tariffing us. It's time for us to take a bunch of what you're shipping to us. Or we're consumers. We're the biggest consumer country, so we want to get our piece back. And anybody that resists in any form of raising their tariffs is going to get hit harder, so that whatever the equilibrium number is per country, Joe, is achieved, right? So if China does 6,000% tariffs, then Trump will do 6,000% tariffs. So that's, I mean, it's essentially it's a schoolyard cross this line game, right?
It's not, and it's really not. So this is the part again, like I said, it wasn't necessarily, now don't get me wrong. There were some countries that had weird stuff, right? Canada and dairy, kind of weird. Maybe Europe with their car stuff, they had some weird stuff. I'm not disputing that. But generally, none of these countries had. China doesn't have 54% tariffs on us. Vietnam doesn't have a 46%. As a matter of fact, Vietnam had 5%. But it was about the trade imbalance, which, again, remember, that's what they wanted. You know what? They wanted that. What do you think? What was NAFTA and GATT all about? Right? It's like Jason said, these damn bankers, man. I get it. Donald Trump's in a no-win situation. He really is. There's a no winning here. Right? We decided, hey, we wanted to go more into debt. And the only way we could go more into debt was by getting these countries to start building our crap for us and then take some of that money and do what? Buy treasuries with it. And that's exactly what happened. And we got them for cheap. Think about, how do you think we went from about, what was it? What would you say, Jason? We went from like $3 trillion in debt to probably closing, let's call it $25 trillion. Okay? It bought us $25 trillion of debt. That's what it bought us. Right? We could pretend that there wasn't a lot of inflation because we had all these companies doing it for the cheap. Well, guess what? Eventually, the inflation comes. You keep printing up the money, the inflation will come. And it came. And it came hard. And it's still here. And now we're saying what? Bring the jobs back? You notice how that's gone? You know what? We're not hearing that very much anymore. Now we're hearing we want to balance the trade differences, right? The trade differences. We want to balance it. Why? Why are we hearing that? Well, because somebody finally figured out, oh, wait a minute. They're still not going to bring the... There's a big article about Cambodia and Vietnam and the tariffs they've got. And some guy on Wall Street's like, whoa, listen. That's still not going to bring manufacturing jobs back to America. And who said it? The U.S. trade representatives. They were like, wait a minute, we've talked to these companies, and I'll use Nike as the example. I promise you, Nike cannot make shoes in America and have it only be $100. And I said, shoes are crazy expensive. Remember when shoes used to be like $20? A pair of Jordans. I remember when pairs of 100, people were getting robbed for $100 Jordans. Now a regular pair of shoes, $100. 800-951 0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason got gold up 20 plus right now, back above $3,000 to the ounce, 3,006. Silver at $30.06 right now. We've got two really good specials. Yes, remember we were running those $5 Indians? And I was like, okay, 530, 10 or more, 525. Today, or I'm not saying 530, 8, sorry. What was that? That was like over $1,000 in gold. They were 830, 10 or more, 820. Today, they're just 825. Any $5 Indian, $825. But, you know, we've been doing this a long time. We've been in business 29 years. Which means we've got a lot of customers. And you never know who's going to call next, who's going to walk in the door next, whether they're buying or selling or trading, whatever it may be. Yesterday, someone walked in the door. And unfortunately, they were in a situation where they were forced to sell on a tough day, but they had to do it. Well, today it's your advantage. I've got $70, $20 gold pieces. I've got some Saints. I've got some Liberties. $30.95. So you got spot gold at 3,006. $30.95, but wait. If you buy 10 or more, $3,085, 20 or more, $3,075 at 800-951-0592 and get more diversified. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. Now listen, I hate Larry Fink. Well, I don't hate Larry Fink. I don't know Larry Fink. I hate BlackRock. This is another example of fascism, in my opinion. But what he says matters. BlackRock owns large pieces of about every stock you can think of all over the world. This is what he said yesterday. Most CEOs I talked to would say we are already in a recession. Now, he was talking at the event at the Economic Club of New York. One CEO specifically said the airline industry is a proverbial bird in the coal mine, the canary in the coal mine, and I was told that the canary is already sick. So, Jason, this is why I said time isn't on the side here, right? And it's great, right? You know, we can say, oh, hey, so-and-so called today, or I had a great call. But the longer these tariffs stay on, I think the easier you're going to see a lot of these companies, Jason, start to cry uncle again. And we're seeing it, bankruptcy filings up another 20%.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen no matter what. No matter what the government does, it's going to happen. I said this before, Joe, and this does look like what Trump is possibly trying to do, which is, look, I want to gain a percentage of this money that's floating around because bad things are going to happen. Nothing I can do about it. The inflation's coming back. These tariffs can make the inflation be pointed at somebody else besides me, being Trump. If they were permanent tariffs, and at some point, like you said, Canada and Mexico, suddenly we're not talking too much about them. If it calms down and it just becomes an accepted new tax, then what will happen is the business, the free market, the business market will adjust. The companies that are importing from China will say, look, you need to drop your margins. This is unaffordable. Do you want customers? Trump's not giving up his tariffs. You got to drop your margin. Let's just say it's 5%. You know, if that actually happens, the tariffs will be here permanently. This is the one way this is one thing where Trump can look like the good guy. Where, hey, I put these things in place after all the craziness around putting the tariffs in place. Now they're here, and now these large scale businesses that do the importing and exporting, they will determine the price.
Yep.
And that's what it looks like, Joe, and that's not a bad thing. I'm a big I'm a detractor of Trump, but this could be a good thing.
It's not a bad thing if you're not in the stock market.
Right.
It's a horrible thing.
I know.
If you're in the stock market. So
what's the stock market going to get through this thing with or without tariffs? Listen, is the stock market going to make it through?
The Canary's already sick. The 20% drop over the 3 days said that, yes, there's a ripple effect to some of our clients. In other words, like, oh boy, I'm going to tighten it up here. And then he goes, hey, don't be surprised to see another 20% drop. And saying that the economy is already weakening as we speak, and the 62% of Americans have exposure to equities, and another 20% drop. It's almost like Jason said, well, God, we can't pass it all on, right? So we got to tell Wall Street our margins are going to be down, and probably our revenue's going to be down. And then all of a sudden, equities are down. And then all of a sudden, the people that have a big money in the equities, they stop spending because they're like, oh my gosh, I just lost 40% of my money. And then, it kind of feeds on itself. Yeah, that gold's starting to look real good, isn't it? 800-951-0592. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. $20 gold pieces. I do have some Saints, so first come, first serve. Guess it's kind of like the Trump tariff. Whoever gets called first gets the priority. 1 through 9, 3,095. 10 or more, 3,085. 20 or more, 3,075. And then, of course, my favorite gold coin, the $5 Indian at 825. 800-951-0592. So Larry Fink, the Canary sick. Be ready for another 20%. And, of course, that is going to affect Americans because 62% of you have exposure to the stock market. So Jason and I have been telling you, this is kind of how we see this playing out. Everyone is going to have to take a bite of the sandwich, right? And we know what kind of sandwich we're talking about, right? This ain't no bacon, egg, and cheese. This ain't no turkey, right? This ain't a Philly cheesesteak. No, this is the poop sandwich. Stellantis. I think this is probably what we are going to see. Says that they will have to absorb some of the tariffs that its suppliers will have to pay. So remember, Stellantis has already stopped production in plants in Mexico, Canada. Heck, they've laid off here. But according to Deutsche Bank, the cost of the new tariffs are going to be shared, multi-layered, with the manufacturers, the end consumers, the dealers, and the suppliers. Everybody needs to take a bite. So, Jason, here's the thing. The consumer, you guys own the stocks, right? The manufacturers, the dealers, and the suppliers, well, guess what? Those are the stocks you own. And essentially, all of them are going to have to do what? Cut cost, absorb cost, lower margins, lower profits. It's just that simple.
No, that's what I think the tariffs are aimed for, Joe. I think whether it be Trump or somebody that's advising him is like, look, the market and the economy is getting ready to take a nosedive. It's going to happen. If you do tariffs, it's just a way of making this inflation look like it's also coming from somebody else, not just us. And if there's an equilibrium, you put the tariff in place, and there is not an equal tariff coming back the other way, you will absorb. So if the market's going to go down, people aren't going to buy stuff. You're going to take that loss no matter what. It doesn't matter what business you're in, you take the loss. What Trump wants to do is make the loss felt more on the other side. I don't know if this will succeed in that, but Joe, that's always been, since this tariff things have been going this year, it seems like that's what Trump is trying to accomplish. Hey, if I give you a 20% tariff and you give me 20, I got to give you another 20 because this bad thing is getting ready to happen. He said he didn't want to be the next Herbert Hoover, right? So I think this is he's trying to get margins down. I'm going to squeeze these companies and see if I can come out with a little better revenue on the back of this thing.
Get out of Wall Street while you can. 800-951-0592.